All right, looks like we're rocking and rolling and ready to go. So, Anjali, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over admitting folks from the waiting room. And to everyone else who's joined us tonight, hello. We're so glad that you could be here tonight. I have a little bit of an intro, and then we will pass it off to our speakers for tonight for the presentation. And then we will have a Q&A after that. So I'm looking forward to hearing all of your questions about the German Texas holiday traditions. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's virtual event, O Tannenbaum, German Texas Holiday Traditions. I'm Christy Poliquin. I'm the Development Manager for the Friends of the Texas Historical Commission. We are so glad that you've stopped by. We'd really love for you to get to know more about what we do. We're the nonprofit partner to the Texas Historical Commission, which means that we provide support for historic preservation efforts across the state. And you can get involved and learn more about what we do at thcfriends.org. Please do check us out. We love to make friends. We're friends who love to make friends. I also want to thank those of you who've chosen to support us with donations through these events. We're always so grateful. Any amount is helpful. I see the names come through, and I know some of you have given donations more than once, and please know I'm seeing that and I'm appreciating that, and thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge our THC commissioners, our friends, board members, as well as some of our colleagues at the Texas Historical Commission who are here with us today. Happy to see you.
What?
And I also want to mention that the executive director of the Friends of the Texas Historical Commission is on the call tonight, Anjali Zucchi. Thanks for being with us. If you haven't already followed us on social media, please do. We would love to connect with you. This is also one way that you can find out about future events, like our next virtual event, which will happen on December 14th. And it's also holiday themed. So if you're like me and you love this part of the year, then this might be another good event for you to attend. This one's going to be the Bush Family Holiday. And it's coming to us from one of our newer sites at the Texas Historical Commission, the Bush Family Home State Historic Site. So we're looking forward to that. Please do join us. You can find more about that event on our website. Go ahead and register. It's not too early. A few housekeeping items before I introduce today's presenters. As always, we sure appreciate it if you could keep your microphone on mute. That just helps us all focus in on the presenter. Tomorrow after the event, I will send an email to everyone who registered through our website. The email will have a link so that you can watch a recording of this. You could share it with friends if you'd like to. I will also include in that email any book references or recipes that are shared with us tonight by the presenters. Any extra stuff that our presenters mention will be in that email. I do want to mention, if you don't see the email, you might want to check your spam folders. Every once in a while, our emails go there, and we don't have a lot of control over that. So just check those junk folders. So after I get done talking, which I will here soon, I'll pass it off to our presenters. While the presentation is going on, we invite you to put questions for the presenters into the chat box, and we'll answer as many of those as we have time for after the presentation. So I'll cue you. I'll remind folks to do that in the chat box, but if you've got questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in there. One final thing before I introduce the presenters, I wanted to let you know that tonight's presenters are coming to us from a rural part of Texas. And so the Wi-Fi is not as wonderful as we might desire it to be. So please bear with us if there's any lag or any glitches with sound. We're doing our very best to make sure that this goes as smoothly as possible, but there's only so much we can control about those things. So thank you for being patient with us. Okay. It's now my privilege to introduce our presenters for this evening. Marsha Hendrix, PhD, is the site manager for Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill State Historic Sites. Marsha has been working at museums and historic sites for over 30 years and has degrees in psychology, history, and educational psychology with a focus on how people learn in informal education environments. She has managed historic sites for Texas since 2004 and has been at Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill since they transferred from Parks and Wildlife to THC in 2017. She's decorated many Victorian homes for the holidays, but she especially enjoys having the opportunity to share German Christmas traditions, some of which are still enjoyed by her family. We're also joined by Jenny Townzen, the site educator for Kreische Brewery in Monument Hill. Jenny has studied anthropology and history at the University of Texas at Austin, and she has a master's in archaeology from the University of Glasgow. There, she learned the impact that tangible artifacts can have on the interpretation and understanding of the past. Before joining the Texas Historical Commission in 2022, she was an educator at the Harry Ransom Center in Austin, which, if you haven't been there, that's another really cool place to visit. Jenny loves to combine archival and archaeological studies to make sense of historical moments. We are honored to have you both here with us tonight, Marsha and Jenny, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. Christy, I want to say thank you so much, and thank you, Anjali, for inviting us. Everyone, thank you for being here. I am going to turn off my video because I am way out in the boondocks, and so I've got a lag if I have my video on. So now you probably won't try to have to match my words to my lips because my video's on. But we're very excited for this opportunity to share stories from Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill State Historic Sites, especially as they relate to Christmas traditions. From the time of the earliest immigrant settlers in Texas, German families have been practicing, adapting, and sharing their Christmas traditions with other settlers. And now many of those traditions are a regular part of a lot of American holiday celebrations. So each year at Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill's big event, Trail of Lights, the staff and volunteers bring German culture to life at the Kreische House with our decorations, our boughs of greenery, and many cherished German customs. And today we're going to highlight some of the history and practices brought to America by German Texans like the Kreische family.
So this is my turn. I'm going to also turn off my video. I didn't want to before saying anything, just didn't want to disappear, but makes things a little bit easier for vlogging purposes. So let's go ahead and get started with talking about today's program we're doing. Here's the outline. We will first give a brief summary of Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill for those who have not had the opportunity to visit yet. We'll talk about Heinrich Kreische, LaGrange, and the German settlement here starting in the mid-19th century. Then we will focus on the traditions that these immigrants brought and instilled into our current holiday festivities, and how we present these traditions through our living history programs at the annual Trail of Lights, which is sponsored by the Friends of Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill. Finally, we will present a quick video demonstration on how to make a traditional German kinderpunsch. So, lots to do. So a little bit about our sites. So we are Kreische Brewery State Historic Site and Monument Hill State Historic Sites. That's 2 in 1. We're located in LaGrange, Texas, which is about an hour from Austin and about an hour and a half from Houston. So these 2 historic sites share the stories of how Texans built Texas, products of immigration, ingenuity, enterprise, risk, and sacrifice. Our site stories begin in the 1840s toward the end of the Republic of Texas era. Monument Hill is the final resting place for men involved in conflicts following Texas independence. And the Kreische Brewery complex includes a 3-story German stone house, a smokehouse, a barn, and the ruins of a large brewing operation, all built by German immigrant Heinrich Kreische. And in its heyday, about 1878 or so, it was the 3rd largest brewery in operation in Texas. Heinrich was a master stonemason and built the first tomb at Monument Hill before purchasing 172 acres where he developed his house and brewing enterprise. So this picture right here, this is the front of the brewery. This is the tomb and monuments up on the bluff, and then this is the Kreische House right here. Here is a view from the top of the bluff overlooking the Colorado River. This land held a prominent position literally above LaGrange, and you can see LaGrange kind of starting right here, and we've got the bridge as well. And the 172 acres that Kreische purchased included the rocky edge of the bluff, where Kreische could easily quarry his sandstone for building projects, as well as that's 172 acres also included land up to the Colorado River. So with the purchase of the land, the location of it, his skill as a stonemason, and eventually as the operator of the brewery, Kreische became an important figure within the community. He was well liked and respected, and he shared his central location with the German community throughout the year. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So the Kreisches and the Bluff Schützenverein, which was a German shooting and social club that the Kreisches helped organize, were renowned for hosting community gatherings up on the bluff on Kreisches land. They would regularly hold meetings and shooting competitions at least once a month in what newspapers describe as a mammoth pavilion, which used to be located on the property near Monument Hill. And this is a postcard picture of what that used to look like. These gatherings would be great opportunities for German Texans and anyone in LaGrange community really to bond and mingle with their neighbors, have a friendly sporting competition, listen to brass bands and musical singing groups, dance, and perhaps meet future spouses. And of course, drink beer. While we do not know specifically what the Kreische family might have done for the Christmas season, historical accounts describe large community Christmas events at the Bluff Schützen Pavilion, including balls, dances, concerts, and Christmas tree displays. So these two images show group gatherings at the Bluff. The top is in front of the Kreische House in the early 20th century, and the one on the bottom of the bluff is the Schützenverein in the 1890s or so. I don't remember the exact date, but notice on that bottom picture, they have brass instruments. A few of them are holding a beer. Some of them look to be wearing a uniform, which would have been common for Schützenverein back then. And then the newspapers that we have on this convey just kind of the variety of events that would happen up on the bluff. Again, usually about once a month, sometimes more. They would do some sort of event where everybody would come together. And then the year's events usually ended with a Christmas tree and ball, as you see here and here. So German Texan customs were woven into Texas's social and cultural fabric at an early stage in the young state's history. In fact, they were one of the largest immigration groups to settle in Texas in the 19th century, which is why there's so many German traditions celebrated to this day. Heinrich Kreische, his wife Josefa, and countless others in LaGrange were part of an immigration movement that began in the 1840s, and they would settle in what is known as the German Belt. LaGrange, Victoria, and Schulenburg were part of it, while very well-known German towns such as New Braunfels and Fredericksburg were also popularly settled by Germans. This newspaper clipping that we found in the LaGrange Journal from 1881, so this is likely about the time that Kreische would have read the news in the last few months of his life, so it's relevant to Kreische period. It describes an immigrant recalling their memories of Christmas in Germany and mentions Christmas trees, St. Nicholas coming through a window, giving out gifts, and other customs such as setting out wood shoes by the fire. These customs were not left behind or forgotten when these groups moved over to Texas. All right, so now that we've done a little bit of a summary of our site, let's talk a little bit more in depth about German Texan Christmas traditions and how we convey them in the Kreische House every year during our trail flights. I'm going to let Marsha take the lead on a bunch of these traditions.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Christmas tree. Germany is credited with starting the tradition of the Tannenbaum, or Christmas tree. Yeah, that was all the way back to the 16th century. German families began bringing fir trees inside at Christmas time and adorning them with apples, paper flowers, gold foil, and lighted candles. The first group of German immigrants to arrive in Indianola in Texas was in December of 1844, and they were provided with an oak tree for their Christmas tree. Texas German immigrants would decorate with whatever they had available, such as garlands of pecans or popcorn, berries, ribbons, fabric, paper scraps, and of course, homemade cookies. So at the Kreische House, we each year find a locally sourced, fresh cut Eastern red cedar tree. And it sits on top of a table, which was their tradition. The floor-to-ceiling Christmas tree is an American custom that came along in the 1860s. There was a first reference to it that was published in an 1860 ladies magazine. On the tree, our tree, we include candles. That tradition, like I said, goes all the way back to the 1600s. And the candles were usually lit once on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day, and just for a short time. And there was always a bucket of water and a damp mop nearby just in case something caught on fire. We don't take that risk. Our candles are LEDs, obviously. Then here, as in many small Texas towns, the churches frequently erected the first Christmas trees. And so they weren't necessarily in homes, but the churches definitely did. From the Corpus Christi Gazette in 1876, they wrote, with the Methodists, the annual Christmas tree has become a feature, and they look forward in anticipation to the visit of Santa Claus. And then in 1883, the newspaper reported on a large Christmas tree hung with pretty dolls, cornucopias, tiny Chinese lanterns, and a great variety of toys, the whole brightly lighted with little colored tapers. And so I love this is an old Christmas card from the period, and you can actually see the toys on the tree in this card. Another Christmas tradition from the Germans you may be less familiar with, and that is the putz. Under the tree, they might place a putz, and this would be a decorative miniature farm scene or Christmas village or a biblical scene like the Nativity or Noah's Ark. And family members would go out into the woods, they would gather mosses and twigs and rocks, and then someone might carve the animals and create the buildings out of pieces of wood or cardboard. And they would add on to these miniature landscapes each year and grow them bigger and bigger. And then even families would organize putz parties and compete for the best in show. And the term putz is derived from the German verb putzen, which means to clean or to decorate. And what you see here is something that has not debuted yet. This is our 19th century inspired putz that is still in its workshop at my house because I'm still working on it. But it's an exciting thing that we're adding under our tree this year. Another neat thing that the Germans are credited with creating was the first artificial Christmas trees starting in the 1880s. And those trees may have been in response to a growing environmental concern in the late 19th century about deforestation that was associated with the harvest of Christmas trees in Germany. So this is an image of our authentic goose feather tree that we have in the family parlor. Initially, goose feathers were dyed green, and then they attached them to wire branches, and then the wire branches were wrapped around a central dowel, which acted as the trunk. And they kept the branches pretty widely spaced because they did put candles on them, and they wanted to make sure that they were far enough apart that it wouldn't start a fire. And then later, in the early 20th century, feather trees became really popular, and you could actually order goose feather trees from Sears and Roebuck, and you could get them in green or red, but you could also get them in white, silver, or even pink. And just as today, stores would advertise that these artificial trees eliminated a trip to the tree lot, and they didn't shed needles. So another thing that was very 19th century Victorian style would be to hang greenery. And so at the Kreische House, we hang boughs of cedar and other greenery from the ceiling, above the doorways, inside the windows, and along the mantels and shelves. Hanging greenery indoors was a very ancient practice that was done during the wintertime to reflect a desire to bring life indoors because it was the dead of winter. They wanted to bring life in, they wanted to freshen the air and brighten the mood during the long, dreary winter. And so we have a lot of greenery in the house and a whole lot less outside because that wasn't necessarily the tradition that we have today. I don't know if many of you have a Christmas pyramid. Oh, we have some pictures. These are Christmas cards from the period where you see them hanging the greenery. Those are fun. We have a Christmas pyramid at the Kreische House, and this is very typical German. The region of Germany where Heinrich Kreische came from is also where the wood-carved German Christmas pyramids originated, and that was in the Mountain region of Germany. The origins of the Christmas pyramid date all the way back to the Middle Ages, when people brought evergreen branches into their home and hung them. And then later people began adding candles. So the pyramid is actually the forerunner of the Christmas tree. And the one that we have at the Kreische House was hand carved in Zeifen, Germany, which is approximately 30 miles from Heinrich Kreische's birthplace of Gottgetreu. In a traditional Christmas pyramid, warm air from lit candles rises to drive the pinwheel at the bottom. And as it turns, it powers the carousel above, giving life to the small carved figures. And the craftspeople really prided themselves in their rotating scenes that could depict the nativity or different Christmas figures, or even traditional folk scenes like mining and forest and nature. Christmas pyramids were likely inspired by capstans, which are the rotating machines that were used to raise and lower objects by rope that were commonly used in the Ore Mountain mines. And at the end of the 18th century, there were pictures of the Napoleonic campaigns in Egypt that began arriving in Europe and around the area of the Ore Mountains. And those pictures of the Egyptian pyramids reminded them of the capstans and the wooden Christmas constructions that they were creating. And so that's how they finally came up with this term pyramid to associate with these structures. And by the way, we don't have real candles. Once again, ours are electrified for safety purposes, but it does turn, which is really lovely.
All right, I'm back. I get to talk about Santa, which is fun. So images of Santa Claus, a Santa Claus type gift giver date back to the 3rd century with Saint Nicholas. However, ancient Germanic tribal traditions included a midwinter event called Yule, during which a god named Odin, who had a long white beard, rode through the sky on an 8-footed gray horse and visited people with gifts. So Odin transformed into Father Christmas, and then, eventually into the Santa Claus that we know. So here are just a few images of that early kind of old world version of Santa Claus. This is actually in the middle, one of the ornaments that hangs on our tree. And then this on the right is another one that we're doing as a craft, a bonus for coming to Trail of Lights. You can decorate this Santa Claus on the right with glitter and then take home as your own ornament. So that's a fun feature for Trail of Lights, getting to do crafts. So the first modern image of Santa Claus as a plump, jolly man dressed in red was drawn by a German immigrant cartoonist during the time when the Kreische family was growing and adding on to the house that we interpret. So references to Santa Claus, or Weihnachtsmann, as he is known in German, began to appear in both German and English newspapers in Texas starting in the 1880s. So once illustrations in the paper became more accessible, his likeness appeared in advertisements and general news stories, such as printed letters to Santa and stories of Santa giving to children who are good. Here are some images that we have on this slide. The one in the middle is from a 1904 edition of the LaGrange Journal. And then another one, this one on the right, is from 1928. We now picture a classic Santa like the ones possibly in the Coca-Cola commercials, and those really kind of began to appear in the 1930s. So a little bit later than when the Kreische children were growing up and would, be really into Santa Claus. But it does, all of these images kind of show the evolution of the traditional Santa in the early years to a more commercialized one that we now recognize.
So since Santa's coming, we're going to talk about gift giving. And in the girls' bedroom of the Kreische House, we have set up on the bed as if they are wrapping presents. Christmas for German immigrants was first and foremost a religious holiday with the celebratory additions of tree decorating, gift giving, and Santa Claus. So gifts were typically homemade during this era, and they were usually wrapped in white paper with string. And it wasn't then. They came up with decorative gift wrap by the end of the 19th century, and it just started out as colored tissue paper. In the parents' bedroom, we have more gifts being wrapped for the children, such as the tea set and toys for the children. So typical Christmas gifts might be for a lady, needlework, jewelry, a knitted shawl, bric-a-brac, doilies, pin cushions, fans, and vases. For men, typical gifts would be cigar cases, ink stands, paperweights, books, and umbrellas. And for boys, wooden animals, alphabet blocks, tops, boxing gloves, sleds, wagons, books, marbles, and skates. And for girls, sachets, note paper with monograms, books, a pet canary, that's always my favorite, a pet canary, dolls, and party fans. So very typical gifts that you think about. Those were the ones that you would find during the 19th century. And so here are a few excerpts from Letters to Santa sections in the LaGrange Journal from 1904 and 1906. And here the children mention the types of items that they would like and why they deserve them. And the 1906 article actually mentions that the presents will go onto the tree. So these are kind of fun. I'll give you a second to look at them.
My favorite is that I'm a good boy. I carry in wood and feed the chickens and everything that I'm able to do. He's, justifying why he needs all of the presents, right?
I love the one that says, I will go to bed soon. Please don't forget to come. Those are amazing.
All right. So with, children wanting gifts and everyone wanting gifts around Christmas time and being able to give gifts too, there was a lot of advertising for store-bought gifts, which really began in earnest during the latter part of the 19th century. So stores in Texas advertised such items as diamonds, watches, work boxes, and albums. You've got a pony that this girl on a Christmas card is riding, and then we also have tea sets, and it looks like a dollhouse in the background. So really fun things. Here are a couple of advertisements that we found in the LaGrange Journal in the 1880s. So the top left covers the Christmas fixins one would need, which would include apples, oranges, bananas, jellies and nuts, mincemeat, homemade candies. So all the cool little treats that we don't necessarily think of as stocking stuffers now, but were the ultimate present to get at Christmas time. So many letters to Santa were asking for fruits and nuts and candies and such. But this one on the top also mentions firecrackers. And then also just, I guess, because they had room for advertisement, they talk about fish and oysters constantly on hand at this store as well. So that's fun. The bottom left depicts an early version of Santa, and he is guaranteeing good prices for the goods that are sold at this store. He looks more like an old world Santa for sure. The top right mentions imported items from France and Germany. So these are some things that would probably remind a lot of the customers of home, especially in LaGrange, which was very much an immigrant town at the time. Lots of Germans, lots of Czechs too. And then the bottom right advertises some of the delicate items that perhaps mom or dad might enjoy as a gift, such as silver, chinaware, all kinds of things that you would need around the home. Watches, clocks, jewelry, etc., etc.
Okay, so now I want to talk about Christmas cards. Greeting cards started as early as the 1850s. The first one was printed and designed in London, England in 1843 by John Calcott Horsley. And there it is. He was commissioned by Sir Henry Cole to paint a card showing the feeding and clothing of the poor. A center panel displays a happy family embracing one another, sipping wine, and enjoying Christmas festivities. But here's the problem. So much for good intentions. The card drew a lot of criticism. If you look very closely, you can see what was controversial. In the center, it shows a child being given a drink of wine, which of course was considered, and I quote, fostering the moral corruption of children. So yeah, the artistry got a little carried away there. In America, Louis Prang was a German immigrant to Boston, and he placed the first Christmas cards on the market in 1875, and they became immediately popular. Prang is now known as the father of the American Christmas card, And this is a particularly beautiful card that I love. You look at what Santa and the children are holding in their hands. And this card shows how the invention of the telephone made it possible for children to call in their request to Santa rather than needing to write a letter. It's really pretty. And cards really gained their highest popularity in the late 1880s and early 1900s. And they offered us cards with some rather unusual art sometimes. Here's one of my favorite weird ones with a frog dancing with a beetle while an ant plays the tambourine. There are a lot of really weird and funny Christmas cards from the period. But manufacturers, they used quality artists, and many of the large manufacturers held art competitions to generate interest and to get new ideas for cards. Louis Prang, for example, was a very big supporter of women artists, and he commissioned and collected artworks by women, and then he employed more than 100 women artists and designers at his factory. And some of his competitions even awarded as much as $1,000 to the winner. So Christmas card designing could be pretty lucrative.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about food, why don't we? So especially, you know, Christmas dinners and such. People went to great lengths to have something special for this Christmas dinner meal, no matter what the financial or geographic circumstances were. So the traditional German Christmas dinner featured duck, goose, rabbit, or roast. It had smoked meats, particularly sausage, that would be included on the table. And then the German meal might also include side dishes such as apple and sausage stuffing, red cabbage, and potato dumplings. So this is our own set of feasts that we have in the Kreische House for everyone to come in and learn a little bit more about food and the traditions that they would have, traditional food that they would have had during Christmas time. During the festival nights of Trail of Lights, we also have our historic smokehouse working to produce yummy smoked sausages. So people can actually go up to the door, look inside, and see the sausage just hanging from the ceiling, slowly being smoked to give that really good flavor. So smokehouses were particularly important for this time period in order to preserve meats in lieu of refrigeration. Note that this smokehouse here, it's particularly large compared to other family smokehouses at the time. We don't know for certain, but we think that this may have been more of like a communal smokehouse that Kreische built that was used by the German Texas community to collectively smoke their meats throughout the year. And this is one of our volunteers, Bill, with his sausage, just, you know, posing, being all nice, and you see the fire going inside. It's quite lovely, and it smells great whenever you walk by it.
Okay, so since we've covered main dishes, we got to talk about dessert. So typically it would be Christmas Stollen, a traditional German Christmas fruit bread that's made of nuts, spices, and dried or candied fruit, and then it's covered and coated with powdered sugar or an icing sugar. And the really good ones contain marzipan. Those are my favorites. Dresden Stollen is among the most famous Stollen made in Germany, with references dating all the way back to the 15th century. And since Dresden was only about 30 miles from Gottrode, Heinrich Kreische's birthplace, he and his family were probably familiar with the Stollen tradition and its Dresden-specific variation. And another holiday treat that Germans would enjoy would be Lebkuchen. During the Trail of Lights, we do have Lebkuchen for people to sample. And that is a traditional honey cookie that was created by German monks all the way back in the 13th century. In Germany, there are many different types of Lebkuchen available, and they vary by region, and they're usually distinguished by the kinds of nuts that they use. So, of course, the Lebkuchen that we serve includes Texas pecans. It also includes honey and spices such as coriander, cloves, cardamom, and allspice, and then there's candy fruit in it as well. Another version of Lebkuchen is the Witch's House, which was made popular because of the fairy tale about Hansel and Gretel. And one section of Trail of Lights is called Candy Lane, and it celebrates this German story by ending in our life-size version of a gingerbread house. We don't have an image of it because we actually painted it and spruced it up this year, and we haven't gotten to take a photo of it lit at night yet. We're still working on our Trail of Lights, but that's kind of a newish tradition that we've added to.
And all the more reason that they need to come to Trail of Lights to see our new updated gingerbread house.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about German Christmas beverages, and then go into our kinderpunsch video. So hot, usually alcoholic-based drinks were common among Germans at their homes and at community Christmas markets. Some mulled wine called Glühwein, translated as smoldering wine, was particularly popular. It consisted of heated red wine spiced with cinnamon sticks, cloves, star, aniseed, orange, and sugar, and at times vanilla pods as well. Kreische may have also made Glühbier, which is a beer equivalent to mulled wine. Dark lagers like Bock's, likely similar to Kreische's beer style, are apparently well suited for mulled beer. And then during Trail of Lights, guests may sample kinderpunsch, which is the non-alcoholic variation of Glühwein. And it includes similar spices and flavorings to Glühwein. There's Marsha there serving some kinderpunsch to our guests who come and visit. And now we are going to see if this video works. This is our kinderpunsch demonstration. It's quick, about 2-3 minutes.
And let me just mention before you play the video that the sound on the video is kind of low, but it's just music. There's no talking, so you're not missing too much if you can't hear the music. It's just a little bit of Christmas music. The main thing is the visuals.
All right.
Jeannie, was that a site staff person?
That's me.
Oh, it's you.
That's me.
Oh, look how cute your outfits are. And this is actually at the site, that stove?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we heat up the cook stove, I don't know, several times a year to do demonstrations.
Oh.
We're doing it more and more.
This must have made their homes smell incredible.
I know mine smells great when I'm cooking the Lebkuchen.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have a batch in the refrigerator right now waiting to be cooked. And my husband opened the fridge and said, "It smells like Christmas in here."
That's when you know you did it right.
Yeah. We will include this recipe in the email that everybody gets, along with the Lebkuchen.
That was awesome.
So I definitely heard the music, so I was dancing along, but unfortunately I don't think y'all did. But that, yeah, is our short video. This is the actual recipe. Don't want to watch that again. Here's the actual recipe that includes all of the different ingredients. This is a more modern version of the recipe. I had to kind of change it a little bit so that it was more of a living history as they would have in the 19th century. Probably made the kinderpunsch. But yeah, that was me. And that, again, is a part of our growing initiative to do more living history within the house, so that the history really comes to life for people. When they come up, they go look in the door, and we're just, cooking, or if we're just doing embroidery, or just walking around the house cleaning. It gives them a little bit more of a kind of feel of what it would have been like back then. So we will include this little recipe PDF. We'll give that to Christy, and you'll be able to have that if you'd like. And then these are just images that we have of this Trail of Lights that we do, because we haven't really talked about the more modern aspects of our Trail of Lights events. So we have lots of Christmas trees, a little mini Tannenbaum there. We have the monument is right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the monument's here, Texas flag. This is the brewery from up above, about 100 feet up above. We've got a little, some lined lights so that you can see the outline of it. And it's really just, it's so pretty, because usually it's just black out there, but now it's like lit up and people can go and see it. There is our old version of the gingerbread house at the bottom. It is a little bit more elaborate now. We've got some ice skaters here. This is the beginning of our candy lane. And then, of course, we do, during our festival nights, we have pictures with Santa. So we have volunteers from around the community that come, and kids can come in and take pictures with them. Oftentimes they'll bring their letters and like talk about what they want with them. So it's, it's fun. It's special. And then here's just a couple more pictures of people enjoying the sights as they, are going around. People during Trail of Lights, while we're doing all of our living history in the house, actually can come inside and help decorate the tree and go into the rooms and learn more about the presents. And they'll be able to, this year, taste the kinderpunsch from around the kitchen, because we'll actually be using the stove during Trail of Lights. And then, of course, just plenty of photo ops for people to come and enjoy all of the lights in our half-mile trail of lights that we have.
So we really hope you enjoyed hearing how many of our holiday traditions came to us by way of German immigrants to America. And hopefully you learned about some traditions that are maybe not so common. LaGrange is a short drive from many cities, so we hope you can join us for one of the nights. There are 5 festival nights when the house is open, and we do the living history activities and photos with Victorian Santa and Mrs. Claus. And then we have a festival tent where there are refreshments, live entertainment, and we also do crafts. And then we do an additional 5 encore nights, which are the week of Christmas. And that's where guests can just walk the trail to enjoy the lights. And it's all a fundraiser for our Friends group. So all the details available on their website, which is friendsofkbmh.org. And we'll get that information sent in the email as well. And if you can't come during the holidays, like I said, we do a lot of programming throughout the year. We have another really big event in May. It's going to be May 18th of 2024, and it is both a beer festival and a big celebration of German culture. And so there's a lot of craft brewers there, so you can sample craft brewers from around the beers from around the state. But then we do a lot of activities that are for family, and we will have the kitchen going with lots of cooking going on, the smokehouse going on. So it's a huge amount of fun. So if you can't make it to see us in December, definitely come in May. Or, when you follow the Friends of THC, you'll see other events that we have going on. So we really appreciate having this opportunity to share with y'all about the German Christmas traditions and about our big event as well. So thank you again for everybody for staying in with us tonight.
Oh, it was great. I loved your presentation and all the wonderful pictures and recipes. And it does make me a little hungry, I have to admit. We have some really great questions in the chat. So I'm going to scroll to the top. And also some interesting comments. We've got some folks that had some connections here. Let me see. Get back to my top. Okay, we had some folks who had a connection with Jenny's studies in Glasgow, so that was an interesting thing. Raylan, oh sorry, not Raylan. I've got too far. I got ahead of myself.
it's a wonderful place to study. I love Scotland, so
Yeah.
glad to hear there's other people that, also got to enjoy it.
So there was a lot of requests for spellings for things like the crafty puts. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what the spelling is for that? Is it P-U-T-Z?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
PUT.
P-U-T-Z.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that solves one thing. There was a comment about artificial trees back then and goose feathers too. So interesting. So just learning things from your presentation. Okay, questions regarding the pyramid. Does the pyramid have nativity figures?
Many do, yes.
And
Ours, I believe, is more nature inspired.
I can go back to the slide if you'd like.
sure.
Let me see.
And is there a German word for the pyramid?
I saw someone put it in the comments
Okay.
and they had the correct term. I don't know that I can pronounce it correctly though.
Is it the word that starts with E?
Yeah.
I'm not going to even try to disrespect that word by saying it.
I forgot to ask my husband who grew up in Germany how to say it.
Yeah.
He helped me with some other ones, but I forgot that one.
If anyone on the call tonight is really good with German pronunciation, please do come off mute and help us pronounce that. We would appreciate that.
And I do know that we are probably going to use you for like the rest of your life too, because we are not very good at pronouncing German all that well. Yes.
I have German ancestry. I feel like I should be better at this, but I'm not.
Sorry, I was going to go up to the.
Oh yes, the pyramid. The pyramid.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, so on that top left there, you see it's got some deer, which we also have deer that are basically, they live on the land of the Kreische property. So they come out once everybody, once everybody leaves at the end of the day. So we have a deer what do we call it? A deer valley. Which is our Christmas lights. So very, very nature related, but yeah, trees, deer, it all spins. It's so fun. It's like mesmerizing to watch in real life, the pyramid we have.
They are beautiful. I do love watching those. Jennifer, or someone came off mute. I think I
Yes,
missed.
I did.
Okay.
I was gonna I speak some German, so I was
Okay.
gonna pronounce it's Erzgebirge pyramid.
Oh,
It's very good.
I would have been nowhere close to that pronunciation. Thank you so much.
So
That's
you're
so
welcome.
helpful.
And then they're also called the Weihnachtspyramide. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Sure.
So Raylan also mentioned that Fredericksburg has a huge one of these pyramids in their marketplace in the middle, and I actually was just there and saw it, and it's so pretty. But she's asking, is that a normal thing for villages or to have a large public one, or was it usually just in the home?
Yeah, the large ones are very special. I think I only saw one large one in Germany when I lived there. So no, so it was in the home.
Is the one in Fredericksburg lit by candle? I wonder if I don't remember if that has the heat circulation that causes the thing, or if it's more mechanical than that.
It's mechanical.
It is. Okay. Yeah. It wouldn't probably make sense for them to have the dangerous candles on there in the middle of town, but so then I finally found the comments about having studied in Scotland. And it was from one of our attendees. Kay Casey says that she interned with the National Trust in Scotland and studied in Edinburgh University. Later, she was the ED of the Louisiana Association of Museums, and she served on the board of several historical associations. Now she lives in San Antonio, recently retired as an AVP from Trinity University. So
that is amazing. What an academic life. Oh, in Edinburgh,
lots of dedication.
Love it. And then National Trust, right? Yeah, it's that's goals for any museum professionals in Scotland. So that's great.
And Courtney Smith, who's also in our audience, she said that she studied heritage interpretation at the University of Highlands in the University of the Highlands and Islands in Scotland.
Oh, I love it.
So we're doing Germany and Scotland tonight in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Dorothy Poole is asking my and I hope I'm going to pronounce this correctly. I don't know if the W is the W sound or the V. I'm going to go with the V. The Windisch German family observed the mean Santa, which kind of scared young kids in the 30s and 40s. Do you have any information on that Santa tradition?
I haven't done much with that, and I can't even remember his name. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
It is the funny. It's like to try to get kids to be good. You have this mean version of Santa.
Yeah. The newspaper, we had an article at the very beginning that talked about how they really loved him, but they were also frightened of him. Where did it go? Here it is. Yeah. You were glad, and yet frightened. So I feel like that, you know, that's a good way to kind of have the kids behave a little bit, because they're always thinking like, oh, what if he's, you know, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. So
Exactly.
he's
Well,
a little bit nicer now than this bad Santa.
This is a to be read and discovered more, to be researched more. Well, thank you for mentioning that, Dorothy. And then somebody was commenting on the word fixins in one of the ads, which I agree must be a Southern thing and probably not a German term. Yeah, there it is. Christmas
this was
fixins.
in the 1880s, so that gives you a little bit of a you know, figuring out the timing of it. They didn't have as much illustrations in these newspapers quite yet. That wouldn't come until probably the turn of the century, 1900s or so. But we do have this Santa, and yeah, Christmas fixins. Wonderful. It fits so well because that is everything that they are advertising for underneath.
Yes, all the accoutrement. So Annette is saying one of the ads mentions a New Year's gift. Is that a tradition? Or was that a tradition?
I don't know about it with Germans.
Okay.
I mean, I think the English do more. Well, no, they got Boxing Day.
Marsha, can you say that one more time? Your volume, your audio glitched out.
Sorry. I don't know if Germans do a New Year's gift, and then I got thinking about the British and Boxing Day, but I always forget when Boxing Day is, so I don't know about New Year's gifts.
And I know that, you know, people are giving gifts all throughout December. I think St. Nicholas Day, which would be in early December, that probably was another day that a lot of people were giving gifts. And then I think even to this day, like Epiphany, which is like January 6th, is another gift giving day for a lot of countries. I'm not sure about Germany, but it's, you know, the whole season is all about giving gifts.
Okay, let's see. Someone's mentioning the wonderful German heritage sausage supper at Zion United Church. That sounds amazing. Sign me up. And let's see. Let me get down here. Oh, someone's okay. Pfeiffer. I think I'm saying that correctly, Pfeiffer. I'm looking at your comment about that your family's the only one who still makes herring. Boy, the pronunciations are killing me on this. I'm so sorry. If you're there, Pfeiffer, and you want to come off mute and talk about the family tradition that you're mentioning, that'd be great.
Mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are.
Yeah. No, we gather every year. This year it's late on the 16th, I believe. We have family members. We're in San Antonio. Family members come from Houston and Austin and wherever they're from. This herring salad, our family was from the area not too far from Frankfurt, so I don't know how widespread this was in Germany, but we're in the King William district, and we still the old German neighborhood, and it was always made by my mother's forebearers, her grandmother and family, at the old house on King William Street, and they always said that they made it and then they put it out on the back porch to rot for a few days, which they didn't really, I don't think, but they had I'm sure they had an ice box or some kind of a cooler, but we make it a little ahead of time, and it's we had a great write-up in the San Antonio Express last year. They sent a photographer and documented the whole occasion. It takes about 2 hours. We have herring, which we order from a supplier, Acme Smoked Meats on the East Coast, and it comes overnight FedEx to me, which is a lot easier than it used to be. We used to have to source it all over the place. And it has a roast beef cut up in it. It has beets. It has apples. It has capers. It has hard-boiled eggs, and it's kind of a bilious pink color when it's all over. And you eat it on a cracker, and it's an acquired taste. It's a pretty strong salad, but it's very traditional.
Salad. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was misreading that as SALAT.
Salat. Well, that's herring salad.
Salat. Got it.
Yeah.
But now it's making sense. That sounds like an incredible tradition, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because it sounds like something that maybe we haven't heard of before. I don't know about you guys.
If you look in the old Fredericksburg cookbooks or the like, they'll have a version of it. Ours, they're all a little bit different. I have German friends here, people who are from Germany, and they tell a little different story of what they had. Some ate it on New Year's Eve. We've always eaten it on Christmas Eve.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really interesting. And I'm gonna try to look up that article in the San Antonio Express. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I'm on the Friends mailing list, or
Okay.
you can find me through THC if you need it. I can get it to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. We've got some other questions. Some folks were asking me through direct message, where can we go to see all this stuff? Well, this is actually the state historic site of Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill, and that's near LaGrange, Texas. So please visit them. Marsha is the site manager, and Jenny is the site educator, and they will be happy to see you and tell you all about Trail of Lights and all the wonderful things at that site. So if you can't tell, we're trying to get folks to go visit them. So please do. Another question we've got from Susan is, was the tradition for the parents to decorate the tree and then surprise the children with it?
Quite often, yes. So it was the Christmas morning, there'd be the big reveal of the Christmas tree.
Which sometimes was also decorated by Santa too. But Santa.
Got it. Santa, wink. Okay. Let's see. There were some questions about trail lights, but I feel like someone says, never mind, you answered it. So just some details about the event and all of that. So yes, that final slide, actually, we might just go ahead and pop that back up because it has the little QR code on that final slide. So you can point your phone's camera at that, and then you should be able to link to the site. And then there's also the website at the bottom, and I will include that link at the bottom in the email that I send out tomorrow. So you'll have that. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to respond to the email, and I will ask Marsha or Jenny to help me answer the question. Anjali, did I hear you?
There's a question about cranberries. I think you might have missed
Did I miss it? I'm so sorry. I know I'm still scrolling.
It's just
I did miss it. Yes, I did miss it. Thank you so much. Yes, so DVA is asking, I thought that cranberries were indigenous to the Americas. If so, how traditional is this drink if it includes cranberries?
Jenny, do you know?
I don't know. I know that there are many variations to kinderpunsch and all of these different things. They're using all kinds of different juice. And so for the one that I have been following and the one that we follow to make it really tasty punch for Trail of Lights, it does include cranberry juice. So you did get us.
And well, I would say, because the time period that we're talking about, mid 19th century and late 19th century, you could get most anything. Trade routes were great. You could get most anything. A lot of imports were coming in from southern, like Mexico and Cuba and all kinds of places. And so we're not that far from the coast, that because I used to be down on the coast and you could get anything down on the coast.
Yeah, and then that also brings up another point, is that some things that would have been traditional in Germany weren't as accessible once you moved over to Texas, and so you would have to adapt. So just like we're talking about how we have a cedar tree that we have for our Christmas trees here, that's not something that you would have had in Germany. You would have had just a traditional fir. I'm not a tree person, but you see, like whenever you move to a new location, you have to just kind of make do with what you have. And here there would be cranberries available for this type of drink.
What another thing to be researched, right? All these wonderful comments that make us think even more. I love it. Thank you so much. So Isla's asking, what's the best decoration in the Trail of Lights? Personal faves?
Every year we bring our tree in and it looks scraggly and sad because it's a native cedar tree. And then we decorate it and we stand around and we go, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that it on the table there?
A favorite for me
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Someone's asking, where do you get the LED candles for the tree?
I Googled for them, so I don't remember. There are a lot of places.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of clip-ons too, so you can just put it onto the tree and make sure it's kind of upright, but
Okay, I'm still scrolling through comments. Dorothy, I see your comment about the news article from the San Antonio Express. I'm going to try to find that that Pfeiffer mentioned, and if I can find it in time for the email that I send out, I'll include a link to that. And let's see. Jennifer's saying my Oma said they saw the tree Christmas Eve, opened the presents, ate, and then went to midnight candlelight service at the Methodist Church. And then Raylan is saying, is that an on-site cat? And if so, can I be sure to meet it?
Yes, that is Sam Leakey. He is our site cat. He's named after Sam Houston and then Leakey because he actually was found near the battleship Texas before we brought him over here to live with us at Kreische Brewery Monument Hill. He is often a very good tour guide. He will follow you when you go on tours with you and loves to have the pets. So, yes.
Some of our sites have site kitties. So visit our sites, look for the sites that have site kitties. Gail, we're so glad that you could join us. I see your comment about having only been to Texas once, but enjoying the program. We're glad to have you. So we, of course, would love for you to come visit Texas. And if not in person, definitely through these events. So we're happy to have you. And then Terry is saying that German immigrants adapted traditional recipes and used what they had here, pecans. And that fits with what you were saying, Jenny.
That's how you get this like mix of German Texan. That is a whole other kind of thing rather than being German or Texan. You're mixing all the culture together. It's why the German language kind of continued on for as long as it did in Texas and still does in Texas too. So it's lovely. I love it.
Yeah, it's an enduring history for sure. There's a question from Maureen about hiding a pickle on the tree. What about hiding a pickle on the tree? I do not know anything about this, so.
I turned my video off so I don't have the weird lag, but so it turns out that's a myth. It was a marketing ploy actually by an ornament company. They created the story, they included it with the pickle ornament. It did come out of, there's a lot of glass blown ornaments from Germany, and they could be all kinds of interesting items, including pickles. And so, yes, they created that story that unfortunately, you ask a German, they go, "What are you talking about?" I don't know anything about that. But then also I have followed up research wise because I've told that story in Victorian houses in the past. So then when I went to find where did this originate, it didn't originate in the 19th century. It is a 20th century thing that came about as a marketing tool.
Got
Bummer,
it.
I know.
Got it. It sounds fascinating. So
Now I have a glass pickle that my husband hides on the tree every year. So yes, it is part of my holiday tradition.
I guess somebody made a lot of money off glass pickles.
Yes.
Well, that's the end of the questions here. Anjali, were there any questions over on Facebook Live?
Nope. We had a couple of comments, but no specific questions. The comment was about the bad Santa, Krampus.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
But,
like a scary movie about that now, right? Isn't that a scary movie?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well then, it's slightly early. If anyone has any questions, if or comments, if anyone in the audience wants to come off mute and say something, this is a good time. Any final questions or comments for our presenters?
I was just going to say about Krampus that we had 2 German exchange students, and they both said that he went around with Saint Nick on December 6th. And so if the kids were misbehaving, then Krampus would let them know that, you know, they better get their act straight. And so and then Nicholas would give them, you know, put the stuff in the shoes, the nuts and the fruit and the little toys. So
Interesting. All the ways we try to parent our children never ceases to fascinate me. Thank you for that. Anything else? Susan's saying her relatives were the first group to settle in New Braunfels. Oh, wow. Someday we'll have to learn more about that.
It's such a, I really love kind of learning about the early German settlements in Texas and why it is, like why people settled where they did. And, you know, that's very, very prominently German and with reason. Just, yeah, it's fun.
Yes, fascinating.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, it's not really relating to Christmas, but it really linked to German culture. So you mentioned that the artificial trees were made out of goose feathers, right? Correct. So I was just wondering if you knew. I come from a German community in Wisconsin, so I was just wondering if you knew whether in your community the early German immigrants, you know, in the 19th century had practiced noodling the geese or stuffed geese. Do you know? I don't know. I don't know if you even know what noodling is, but.
Nope. I'm going to have to look that up. What's noodling goose?
Well, it's not a very pleasant thing to talk about. It wouldn't be done today, but it was force feeding the geese, forcing down their throat noodles, German noodles, and overfeeding them until they got really, really fat, and then they were butchered, or they were probably sent to big cities in the East and to fancy restaurants before they were butchered. And the big delicacy was the liver, the pate, because they got very, very large. And so it was the liver shits. It was considered a huge delicacy. It was a big deal in my small German community in Wisconsin. So I was just curious since geese came up.
Yes, we'll have to keep an eye out for that now that we've heard about it.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was, you know, something that was real common in other places where there are German communities or not.
Yeah. So surprisingly, there's not a lot of literature that we have about kind of German Christmas in our time period. And so there's one particular book that we rely on a lot for the Kreische House, but there's so many other things that we don't necessarily know that maybe just if we have like some oral histories that kind of bring us and tell us about these different kind of customs, we can adapt into the Kreische House. So I don't think we're going to be doing any noodling, but it's really,
No, you're
really
not.
interesting to hear about it, definitely.
my high school mascot was a gosling. We were called the Goslings because in my small town of about 15,000 people, it had been such a huge part of the history and the heritage. So
That's
they had,
fun.
yeah, we were called the Fighting Goslings, if you can, whatever.
That's great, Ruth.
So
Thanks for sharing, Ruth. I feel the more that we, have these conversations and talk about these different things and add our own perspectives and cultural histories to the conversation, the richer it becomes, and it's just a fuller story. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, any last words or comments? If not, I invite you all to please visit the sites, learn more about Kreische Brewery and Monument Hill, but also the Friends of the THC. We do a lot to support programming of the Texas Historical Commission statewide. So we're busy all the time and working on different things, and we would love for you to join and be a part of our mission to support the THC. The more that we can do, the more that we can share with the public. So we're always excited about that. So if there's nothing else, I'll invite you to join us for our next event on December 14th, which is also holiday themed. I mentioned that at the beginning of our Zoom. This one will be the Bush family holidays traditions. So please visit our website and register for that. And I will look forward to seeing you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
presenters.
Thanks so much.